Good evening and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and dear audience. On behalf of Conflict and Resilience Research Institute Canada, I welcome all of you to join in the event this evening here in Winnipeg titled Role of Volunteerism in Advancing World Peace, North-South Rotary Dialogue. And Conflict and Resilience Research Institute is a Winnipeg-based research and advocacy think tank, and it was co-founded by Dr. Hilal Mohiuddin and myself on 16th December 2017. Before we begin, traditionally we acknowledge our treaty, and Conflict and Resilience Research Institute Canada is located on original lands of Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of Metis Nation. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. So today is a special day for us because this is the first event that has been organized for the Peace Days 2020 Winnipeg. This year's motto of the Peace Day is Peace, Compassion, and Love. Peace Days was inspired by Rotary World Peace Partners in 2003, envisaging the idea of a Canadian Museum of Human Rights as a beacon of hope for the oppressed, impoverished, and vulnerable peoples of the world. Peace Days grew out of a desire to celebrate the United Nations International Day of Peace, that is September 21st, annually. Tonight, we have the co-founder of Peace Days Winnipeg, Rotarian David G. Newman, with us who would speak about the significance of the Peace Days more. We're also expecting the president of the Rotary Club of Winnipeg, Brent Zorowski, with us shortly. However, just as a way of information, the Rotary Club of Winnipeg Peace Builder Committee, which organizes the Peace Days Winnipeg, is an inspirer and facilitator of a grassroots movement working together for positive peace locally, nationally, and internationally. As peace builders, Rotary is committed to a vision, mission, and set of values that encourages, facilitate, and inspire understanding, positive peace, and goodwill. Since its inception, Conflict and Resilience Research Institute has participated in Peace Days. This year, this institute has organized 4 events, and today one is the first in its series. 2 of our events are also selected to be hosted by Montreal Peace Days, and its motto is United and Committed to Peace, that runs from September 17 to October 17. Dear audience, as a Rotarian, I am obliged to start with the fundamentals of Rotary, and that is service above self. Many of us are aware that the Rotary motto was adopted in 1911 from a speech of Rotarian Arthur Frederick Sheldon, who spoke in its first convention held in Chicago in 1910. He said, and I quote, "Only the science of right conduct towards others pays. Business in the science of human services. He profits most who serves his fellows best." Unquote. Subsequently, the 1989 Council of Legislation established service above self as the principal motto of Rotary because it best conveys the philosophy of unselfish volunteer service. Rotary International President-elect Holger Knack's theme for 2021, Rotary opens opportunities, asks Rotarians to create opportunities that strengthen their leadership, help put services ideas into action, and improve the lives those who are in need. In Rotary, as you all know, we are guided by 4-way test. Is it truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? So these are the fundamental precepts of Rotary movement and Rotary ideas. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce our esteemed panelists and participants as they would appear in the panel discussion. First, let me introduce Professor Dr. Mazharul Islam. He is the Professor of Anthropology in the Shahjalah University of Science and Technology, Bangladesh, and also a director and the current chairman of Institute of Applied Anthropology. He also teaches at Brack University during his stay beside the university. Next, we have Dr. Bob Hopkins. He is a philanthropist, and he is also very famous in terms of his publication, Philanthropy Misunderstood. And I'm hoping Bob would be speaking about his book tonight. And together with Professor Dr. Mazharul Islam and Bob Hopkins, they are conducting a course. And if you are interested further, please do connect with them. And it is very interesting. I joined in one of the sessions also. Next is our Rotarian and DG elect for 21 and 22, Barrister Mutassim Billah Faruqui, and he is joining us from Bangladesh. And also with us next is Rotarian Naila Bari, and she's from Rotary Club of Baridhara Central and the past president of its club. And as usually, I shall be moderating the session. And we are also joined from a fellow Rotarian from Mexico, Eduardo Flores. And Eduardo Flores, welcome very much to the session today. And we have David Newman, and David Newman would be commenting and sharing his ideas of Peace Days at the end of this session. So first, we'll invite Dr. Mazhar to speak a few words about his activities on this very auspicious day. Professor Dr. Mazhar, floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Kauthar and the esteemed panelists today. This is very early in the morning in Dhaka, Bangladesh, because in pandemic we are used to get a little late, start the day a little late, and we used to, get quite a late night kind of a spell in our daily routine. So our body clock is kind of really changed, and this but this is the first time during last 6 months that I'm in a webinar at 9 o'clock. So I mean, I'm not sure whether you'll understand me very well or not. I mean, so at the outset, Dr. Bob is here, and Bob and I am involved in this kind of a course called Anthropology and Philanthropy, where we're these days trying to share our ideas with the global community to share our own thoughts on anthropology and volunteerism and philanthropy. So, with that note, I guess Dr. Kauthar was keen to involve me in this kind of talk today, and I also welcome and express my thanks and gratitude to everyone who is present in the session right now, particularly to Conflict and Resilience Center based in Canada. You know what? That volunteerism is something that is never been invented on a sudden by Rotary or Lions Club International. It's there in the humanity all the time. If you see the journey of human civilization starting from the hunting and gathering, you will see that some people hunted and some people gathered, and there were a lot of volunteerism involved in that, and the meal was shared by the community, not by the individual. So that sharing has been an intrinsic part of the human civilization that is there in the evolutionary psychology of the Homo sapien. So all we need is to do, just to induce or just to foster or just to nurture this innate quality of Homo sapien that has been benefiting the human race and the globe in many ways, starting from the beginning. So, and people are into volunteerism for a great variety of reasons, particularly to eliminate poverty, because we are living in a world which is not a very fair world, I should say. We're huge kind of discrimination around the globe, and we have got the health and education scenario quite divided. We have got those environmental issues. We have got those issues of exclusion, because we could not include so many people with the mainstream. So this huge issue of exclusion is there. And also of course, there is no denying the fact that the world is having these conflicts and violence and around the globe. So these are some of the trusting issues that volunteers are dealing with around the globe, and the United Nations has shared that we have got almost 1 billion people who are involved in volunteerism globally. So I'm not sure whether they have included all those Rotary Club International and Lions Club. I'm not pretty sure about that, but and I'm not sure about their methodology, how they have come up with this count. But this is a statistic that goes on, that there is a 1 billion volunteer around the globe. So so that's quite a lot. I mean, if that 1 billion can be proactive, we can change the world in many ways. So in a developing countries like us, for example, Bangladesh, Mexico, and many other countries like this, um, people have been trying this tool called volunteerism for many reasons. um, for example, in Bangladesh, you see this is a disaster prone country. We have got a natural disasters like floods almost every year in this country, and we have got a lot of other disaster nowadays, cyclone, and and other disasters that take so much of life every year. And so volunteerism, it has been practiced in this part of the world for a long time, and we did not we have seen the good examples of volunteerism, where every calamity there are groups of people who are involved without much kind of a preaching, or much kind of a deliberate effort to offer their volunteerism. They do it from their innate instinct and innate kind of a human endeavor that they offer to the humanity. But today we all have gathered here because that we want to celebrate that thing, and we want to make some way out how we can nurture, and we can synergize our efforts to make a better world through volunteerism. So I would say, I would just stop by 2 points. One is that the perception of development that have been preaching around the world by different global agencies like the World Bank and IMF and others, that the development means GDP and GNP and the market. Although they nowadays they have got some other kind of a they have adjusted some of their ideas, but mostly they are preaching on that hardcore development, which only goes around the GDP and GNP. But we need to really understand that development doesn't mean with the economic development only. Development is a huge concept that incorporates so many other social and cultural areas. From that standpoint, we need a huge kind of a nurturing of our that innate instinct called volunteerism. We need to nurture this, because you see, if you don't nurture it, if we cannot like practice this, if we cannot make an environment to nurture our young generation and engage them into this huge kind of effort called volunteerism, this will not work. Because there is a two stream. One is that big stream of that corporate culture, or that neoliberal economic system that will give you kind of all this kind of profit and greed and everything, and you will and Homo sapien will be only Homo economicus. They will only think about the economic benefit, and that's one preaching. And we are seeing this world is how much the world is becoming so much of that profit and greed driven world. So we need to also think that this profit and greed is just one part of the whole thing. We need to really cultivate, and we need to really invest our time, energy, and effort to the new generation so that they can come up with those innate quality which is called volunteerism. And the last point is that how can we do it? I mean, I always quote that famous word given by Benjamin Franklin, that the objective of knowledge is not wisdom but the action. It's all the knowledge that we accumulate, that we acquire. That is, the objective is not that we one day will be a very wise person like Dr. Kausaram, but the objective is that we will be someone who can synergize our effort to make this world a better place. So that's another thing we really need to understand, that action oriented applied projects, that the knowledge need to be applied and where volunteerism can be involved. So two major themes. One is we need to engage our young population into, because for example, I can tell about Bangladesh. We have got almost kind of a 60% of our population goes around the young population. So if we can energize and synergize our population into those things called volunteerism, this country will change. And I'm sure this is true to many of the countries around the globe where we can change the world through volunteerism. So I'll not take much of time. I'll stop here, and I wish this CRRIC and other efforts taken by CRRIC to make this world a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mazhar. Thank you for a very enlightening speech. And you have covered very essential aspects of volunteerism, I would say. I welcome now Dr. Bob Hopkins to speak on this occasion. And Bob, I hope you can hear us well. And I'm just wondering, Bob, before you begin, is Gabo or Christina are from Mexico Club as well? Bob, unmute your mic, please. Yeah.
Welcome.
Bob,
I'm so happy to be here.
Okay.
I'm in Dallas, Texas, and yes, it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night, and so I'm getting ready to go to bed. I don't have my pajamas on yet, but I will shortly. Anyway, yes, several of my students actually from Mexico are here, and Eduardo is in the room here, and his brother Gabriel is outside, and also I'm so excited to be doing this course with Maharul Islam and Naila Bari in Bangladesh, except of course it's virtual, it's online, and so we're talking in the morning in Dallas and late at night or in the afternoon at least in Bangladesh, and this is exciting. And thank you very much, Maharul, for bringing up volunteerism, because I think it's a learned behavior. I think that volunteerism is not something people wake up and say, I think I want to help the world. I think they have to be taught. And I really remember, and it's in my book, about going with my mother when I was 5 or 6 years old, carry groceries to people who were poor. And I left this trailer house with the children looking at me and waving at me with smiles on their faces. And it was such a change from when we first entered the trailer house. And I felt a little pat on my back. And it was, I think, from Allah or God saying, you did good today, Bobby. And it gave me joy, and I loved it. And so I wanted to be feeling like that all of my life. And so I found things to do that would help other people because it brought me joy. So what I have learned about volunteerism, and it's in this book that I have created, it's called Philanthropy Misunderstood. Philanthropy is love of mankind. Philanthropy is about volunteering. What I have learned about doing it is that it's not just helping other people, it's helping me. And that's why I want to tell people around the world about this new thing that can bring you joy and can give you purpose and can make you want to get up the next day and do something is everybody try it. Just try it. Try to do something. And of course, you know what? You and Rotary have found it. And that's why I'm talking to the choir a little bit tonight, because of the fact that you all have found it. You've already found that joy. You all had a mother who told you and taught you to do it. And then you decided you wanted to do it for a lifetime. So you joined the service club of Rotary. I've been involved with Rotary all over the world. I've actually been in Nicaragua and, of course, Bangladesh to help and be part of that activity, but in Mexico as well. And the students here, who is Eduardo and Gabriel, they actually are part of Rotaract, which is the organization for the youth. I think the earlier that you teach children about giving, the better it's going to be, because they're going to be lifetime volunteers. They're going to be lifetime givers. They're going to be lifetime people who want to change the world. And boy, howdy, we got a lot to change. We got a lot to do. And that's what we're trying right now to do with Bangladesh, is to imbue, to excite the students about doing something. And we're trying to identify that which we can do. And that's where Naila comes in. And she's brought us this organization that she's the head of, which has to do with the Miss Earth pageant, which is getting young women involved in doing something special. And we want to help that. We want to get involved. And we think that it might be collecting plastic, which of course is killing our birds and killing our animals and clogging up our rivers and clogging up our oceans. Just one example of something that we're trying to do with our youth. So I think that's kind of the answer, quite frankly. This book of mine is just my experiences with 108 people and groups around the world doing good things. And because California is on fire right now, and because the hurricanes are all over Florida and in Galveston in California, I mean in Texas, we get to see it firsthand that climate change is something we've got to tackle. But, you know, it's kind of hard to tackle something like climate change. So we're trying to take one piece at a time. And with Naila and Bangladesh, it might be plastic. So we'll see. But thank you for having me be here this evening. And should you ask for some more comments a little later, if we have time, be happy to give them. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. We appreciate your time and energy, and it's quite late at night, and you are so energetic. We totally, inspired by your presence, nonetheless. Next, I would like to welcome the Director General-elect 21 and 22, Barrister Mutassim Billah Faruqui. Please, sir, floor is yours. Mr. Faruqui, if you can unmute the mic, please. Mr. Faruqui, can you hear us? I mean, just unmute the mic. Oh, I think he's trying to rejoin. So what we do, we would add him a little later when his connection is all right. Now let's welcome Rotarian Naila Bari from Rotary Club of Baridhara. Naila, floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to see all of you from different countries and different places. Yeah, always in different places, different light comings, and this is the joy of volunteering, and this is the joy of service, because this is the place where we can connect each other. And I believe that this conference is another example of this connecting people. It's very important in not only Rotary, of course, in volunteerism, that when we are volunteering some community, we need to connect with people. We need to action. We need to make some action. And in our country, in this, in fact, in Bangladesh, in different places we are doing so many things in piecemeal way. Before starting my story, because you have asked, uh, Dr. Kausar Ahmed asked for the story of volunteering or the service of for this community. I'm telling you, I'm I'm agreeing with Bob that it gives me peace, and that is the reason I'm here, and that's the reason um, I'm in Rotary. So now, Mr. Mutassim Billah Faruqui is here. If you can give him a chance to talk, it will be better, because maybe he has some work. So I'm requesting you to
Okay.
give him floor to talk. It will help me.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Faruqi, can you unmute the mic, please? Then you can, I think we can hear you. I think he still has some issues with the. Can you hear us, Mr. Faruqi? Unmute the mic, your mic. Yeah.
So thank you very much. Actually, I'm facing trouble of internet connection. Probably it's very poor right this moment over here. But still, I'm very happy to be with you in this dialogue. I'm very happy to see the faces of very esteemed resource persons and evangelist fellows. So really happy to be one of you in this dialogue. You all know that about 70 million people are right now displaced because of the conflict and because of the violence or the persecution or the human rights violation or like that. So peace is always very important to address the issues to address even after the post-World War situations. So we, the Rotarians, actually, we are committed for the peace building, and we want to create environment so that peace can prevail in the societies. And how we can do that? That is, the Rotary has the definite strategic priorities, and we have the areas of focus, and we have the objectives that always focus on the peace building efforts. And how we achieve this, we always think that the peace is the cornerstone of our mission. And we believe when people work together to create a peace in our communities, and that can change, make some changes in the global effects it must have. And we usually do the things by addressing the cause of conflict, which we know the poverty is one of the cause of the conflict, and unequal distribution of resources, and lack of access to education and the healthcare. So we have the 6 areas of focus. One of them is the fighting disease and the providing clean and sanitation, healthcare, and supporting education, growing local economies. And this is the areas we are really working for that. And we believe if we can properly support focusing on these areas and covering these areas, we can make the sustainable peace in the communities, and that will be a lasting change in the society's alliance. And as I am the district governor for 2021 and 22. I have a definite planning, because I have observed in the especially the mofussil areas, what we call in the local areas, the school girls are very much facing the problem of the modern sanitary latrine or the toilets, and they don't like to use the whole day, don't like to use the toilets because of the lack of good facilities in the toilets. So they have to wait for coming back to home. So that's why we are planning to build about 1,000 modern toilets in the schools and colleges in the local areas, so that they don't face the health hazards. And what really they are facing right this moment, that can be solved as well. And when we are talking about the Rotary, you know the Bangladesh is always the proud contributor in the world peace process and in the peace building process, and under the leadership of United Nations. And you will be very happy to know that the Bangladesh is the highest contributor in the world UN peacekeeping forces. That is, we are really proud of it. And so as a part of this country, as a part of Rotary, we are doing the same things. And you will be very happy to know that for the first time, Rotary International and District 3281 has given the honor to our Honorable Prime Minister with the Peace Award in 2012. That is also the first Peace Award she received from any organization, from any. But later on, she has got so many Peace Awards, and because of the Peace Accord, peace agreement she has made in the hill tax area, that is the place of unrest in Bangladesh. Now it is quite peaceful atmosphere prevailing in the hill areas as well. So what we always feel, if we can reduce the poverty, reduce the lack of education, reduce the other things, we can solve some problems in the remote areas. That will create the sustainable peace. That's why we are doing all the things. And what actually I'm, as a district governor elect, I have another plan to organize the friendship exchange program. You understand? That is the Rotary always preferring to be connected, and the fellowship is our the basis of our service. So that is why I would like to organize the international exchange program, so that we can experience the different cultures, we can build relationships, and international friendship can have through the friendship exchange, and it will actually broaden our international understanding. Our build enduring friendship can be building, and moreover, we can find partners for the global grants, so that we can take the bigger projects, bigger programs, and bigger global funded projects in our country. So that is the thing we are just looking forward to. And you all know that 3281 is one of the largest district in the world. One of the, not this is the largest for sure, district in the world. So we have to remain engaged with visiting the clubs and other issues. But the clubs are very active. Probably our Rotarian Naila Bari will talk about what the club individual is doing, and district is volunteering, and district is really organizing what club is doing, and that is the fantastic in Bangladesh, I think, and the wonderful jobs the Rotarians are doing. This year, during the pandemic, you will be amazed to know that about $1 million worth about we have contributed to building capacity building in the hospitals, those who are providing the epic corona treatment. So that is the thing. In addition, we are providing the food for every day for the poor people, those who were recently unemployed because of the corona crisis, don't have their employment. And the telemedicine service we are providing. In addition, you think all the materials we need to use during the corona pandemic situations, the gloves, hand gloves, the mask, and other things we are providing to the poor section of people, especially in the slum areas. So that is the thing we are doing right this moment. So to aid in the advancement of international peace is one of the objective of Rotary International. You understand, in our all in our objectives, and what we always remember, the peace should be the first thing we have to address in all our activities, and for achieving the lasting change in the society, in ourselves, and around the globe. That is the things on our part. We can work together, and the people from Canada, Rotarians from Canada, Rotarians from Mexico, Rotarians from Bangladesh can have a international committee, so that we can discuss the issues, what we can do together, and we can have something to do for the society, and we can make some changes in the society as well. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to say something, because this is the working day for now, and it is already started. My hour has been started, so I have to go to my office right now. So thank you very much once again. Hopefully, we'll be meeting one again and again, and that will be nice talking to you. Thank you. Thank you once again, Dr. Aauthor, for inviting me. Giving me the chance to meet you here. Hopefully, we'll be meeting again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And we appreciate your time. We understand you have to go for the office now, but we appreciate your time and energy. And we would be noting down your invitation to work together in the future. Thank you. Stay
Thank you
safe,
very
sir.
much. If you allow me, I leave,
Okay.
Dr. Kausar.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hopefully, I will be updated with the help of the discussion soon over here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Will do. Thank you. So now let's welcome Naila Bari to resume her story, and we were actively listening her story. So please go ahead, Naila.
Thank you so much. Actually, I was waiting for Mr. Mutassim Faruqui because he has some um, future plan. Actually, we have some future plan in district, and we actually, when we have started our presidency in club, we never thought about the individual club. We always doing the multi club projects, so it creates more people engagement. It creates more interesting projects in a bigger way. So what we have done in my year, last 2 3 years, basically cataract project the cataract project and operation, it was really very interesting because when a poor lady or the poor guy um, could not see properly, they are suddenly in one operation in a very small amount of money when we are contributing, and within a day they are just seeing the world. They have light in their life. That was very interesting for me, and it changes my life as well, because I understood that it was really very hard when we can't see the world easily. So there are so many projects. It's already we have done it in our country, but in this year we have already started a new project for environment, which is very important for us. But uh, in fact, next year, well, as a focus of area, Rotary International have added this safe environment named objective or the focus of area in their as their focus of area. So um, when I have started my project, Miss Art Bangladesh. Hello, hello.
Yeah, Naila, we can hear you. No, no
Oh,
problem.
okay.
Go ahead.
So I have started my project, Miss Art Bangladesh, as Bob said. We were planning that, yeah, we are starting with the young ladies. We are starting gathering young ladies, beautiful ladies, but how they will change the world, how they will uh, take some part to change the environment, or we are going to change the environment. So we are taking the plastic as a diamond, and we want to change it. We can't demolish, or we can't just stop using plastic, but we can reuse it. So in this year, we have started in a small way. Our beauty pageant participants are creating new plastic things from old plastic bottles or the old plastic um, things. They are reuse it from in a different way, in a creative way. So we will mm, change our mind to buy new plastics. We can stop it, but we can use it. we can reuse it.
Yeah. Hi. We can hear you, Naila. I mean, can you hear us? Um, Hi, Naila. Are you still?
I guess our connection is lost right now.
Okay. Okay. Um, so just a couple of seconds, if she can rejoin, or we can invite our Mexican friend from Lyon to the discussion. Just 1, 2 more seconds. I think, yeah, let's wait for her. If she can rejoin, we can hear. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Gabo Flores. He's a Rotaract, Leo, Mexico. Gabo, floor is yours. You can go ahead. Unmute the mic, please.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thanks for invite me. I invite my brother also, but I think he has a bad connection. Eduardo Flores. He's asking me to say some things about the things that we have done inside of the Rotary Club. Once when we started this project of joining to Rotary by being the first one to open the club here in Leon for the young people. We didn't know how big it's going to be this, how many people we could achieve and encourage them to um, be involved in the philanthropy and volunteerism activities. What we have done here in Mexico is to provide wheelchairs to people that doesn't have ways to pay for them. I remember once when we delivered some wheelchairs uh, to a girl. I spoke directly to the mother, and she told us that the girl was a winner in the Olympics, Paralympic Games in America. And this kind of big touch marked our club here in Leon, and we started from there to do bigger things. The things that we have done here is within another clubs is a big project to take water to poor communities inside of my state in Guanajuato, Mexico. It's a place called in Guanajuato, Mazacuata. It's in a place that the water is not able to arrive, and they need to pay like 40 times the price that for the water to get clean water to the shower and do their needs. 40 times more than in the city. It's a crazy thing. A poor community cannot pay that much during the year, so they need to save a lot, and they have really poor assistance from the government and from NEC, the nearest communities for that. So the plan that we are doing here is to put together the government and some activities to plan how to make the water arrive there cheaper. I think I lost connection.
No, you are good. You're still good.
No? Okay.
Yeah, no,
The project will come in two stages. The first one is to put a big area to contain the water. Okay, and the second stage will be to create stations to take that water from the big area to the houses. Yeah, we found that there's a river that can provide water to these communities, and we found also that there's an initiative from the government that is going to be able to provide couple, well, an amount of money for that but we need to do the paperwork. We need to make the people be interested in this community. So I think we are making it in the club, and they are business owners that are interested to help. And well, our club is like the area that everything is spreading the idea within these people, and they are start thinking to help this community. Well, this is one of the projects that we have done here.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabo. Thank you so much for your time. So, Naila, you are again on. Sorry, we got disconnected and we just continued.
No.
So, yeah, we are not done
No,
with you. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's the internet problem, so I understand, and it's fine. Actually, I was talking about the reuse of plastic, and which is very important that we can't stop using plastic, but we can reuse so that we can buy our we can not stop, like reduce our consumerism of plastic. So this is our project now. Even in next year, for next year, we have taken it as a district project to reduce plastic. How do we reduce using plastic? So it will not change the world in a day, but it can change our behavior pattern. It can change our um, world a bit more and change our uh, buying, different type of buying capacity. Number one. Number two is woman empowerment. We are when we are actually planning for making an e-commerce site only for the reused plastic product. So we will showcasing the plastic product, what we have recreate from a different plastic, like bottle or the packaging or another thing. So woman or the poor person will get money from if they can sell it for, in a different places. So it will create a new market for the world as well. So this is our planning, and we are actually doing this thing after this corona situation, COVID-19 situation, because we can understand that we have already polluted our environment, and Miss Earth Beauty Pageant is just a platform uh, for doing this thing. And Rotary is also partner of this project. So it's very important for me, my club, and my district as well. Even though I feel like it is very important for our uh, world to change our mind that we cannot stop using plastic because it's very comfortable for us. But how do we use, or how do we change our lifestyle? It should be in our mind. So it is one kind of volunteering. And yes, when our environment will be cool, our environment will be no, just free like before. We will be in a peaceful life, undoubtedly. Thank you so much. Thanks. I think it's enough for me now.
Thank you, Naila. Very encouraging news from Bangladesh indeed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome David G. Newman, the co-founder of Peace Days Winnipeg, and actually he's also the advisor of Conflict and Resilience Research Institute and our constant source of inspiration. David, floor is yours.
First of all, let me say how encouraged I am and impressed I am by the work of the Rotarians who have spoken, and also the sharing of the joy of service and philanthropy. That truly is what is the uniting factor for Rotarians in clubs and districts and zones around the Rotary network worldwide. And someone mentioned being a piece of these kinds of positive changes. In Winnipeg, Canada, we have, as a Rotary District 5550, chosen to focus our service in little ways that jointly and severally create something magnificent. And we say, be a piece of peace, be a piece of the solution. And I heard that mentioned by Naila, because once you're seeing the total of all the little things, and we like to focus on a pie chart. So if you take a big circle and you slice it into tiny little pieces and give each little piece a color and a legend describing each little slice, you can put in providing a genuine smile just to bring joy to someone else and cause them to be recognized and appreciate what you're doing is sharing your own happiness. That's being a piece of peace. Or on the other hand, you can be a Kauser Ahmed and Halal Muhyiddin, and you can be putting together an event like tonight, and we share the little pieces that we're contributing from our communities as individual Rotarians. But when those individual Rotarians, as Naila had said, work together collectively with other clubs, and you focus also on the reality that what you do locally is part of a global, complicated series of connected ecosystems. Because we all breathe the same air, we all drink the same water, we're all made up of the same chemical compositions, and we truly are one global human family. So when you start thinking of the Rotary four-way test and you think of who is the all in being fair to all concerned, will it be beneficial to all concerned? When you add that, the two steps of the four-way test. We're at a stage now where all means everyone, everywhere. The wisdom and goodness of our ancestors from the past 7 generations ahead, and sentient and non-sentient beings. And we heard the interest in the environment. So the way we see it here is we all have a job to deal with this existential threat and risk to the survival of humanity. We look at the whole risk to our existence every moment of every day, which is the threat of nuclear weapons and a nuclear accident or nuclear war or nuclear terrorism taking over, or some insane genius creating and provoking this kind of massive destruction, which can destroy humanity. So the way we see it in Winnipeg and in our peace building work is we see that for the first time in human history, we for the last 75 years have been able to create things that can destroy the human species. And that's nuclear weapons. And we've also learned that by the population we have, the way we're living our life, the way we're dealing with our ecosystems and our environment, we are destroying the very essences, the very essential elements that provide life on Earth. And we call it now climate change. And of course, the climate change that we're seeing in Western United States manifested through extreme heat and forest fires. And we see it through tornadoes and cyclones and the volatility and the flooding and all these kinds of things. We know that this is something that we must deal with together, not within the boundaries of our own countries, protecting ourselves. So we see from Winnipeg, Canada, and the country of Canada as a very privileged country. We're not overpopulated. We have freedom and constitutional democracy. We have prosperity. We can talk about these things, and we have the time to devote to them because we're not struggling for existence every moment of every day. So we acknowledge that privilege. We also acknowledge that we, as Aauthor at the opening of this event, spoke to our Indigenous peoples and our being on the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. And why do we do this? We do this because we failed our Indigenous peoples. We were the product of colonization. We used colonization to dominate and control those peoples, move them out of the way for us to settle, to build industry, and do things a way that we believe were the right way, imposed our faith, imposed our way of doing government, our way of doing business, our way of technology on them, without realizing that we had as much to learn from them as they had to learn from us. So we are part of a privileged country that we Rotarians see must set an example with that freedom and privilege and prosperity for the rest of the world, starting with our own abuses and genocide of our own peoples. And we do that through seeking to build trusting relationships. That's a big work of our Rotary in Canada. We even have an organization nationally called Honoring Indigenous Peoples, formed by Rotarians, which has half Indigenous peoples and half Rotarians as the governance structure. So what we are sharing with you tonight is we have to work together. I must say that Canada and the United and Mexico have a trading relationship. We have many kinds of things in common in relation to Indigenous peoples. So do we do with the United States of America. But I do want to recognize Bangladesh because I have come to know Bangladesh through Rotarians like Aauthor and his community, and Halal, who was here in Winnipeg for some time and worked as a friend of Rotary. And Bangladesh is an amazing country. Like Canada, it's a relatively new country, much newer than Canada. But it is committed to peace. And it's committed to certainly peacekeeping, as Canada was more in the past, like nobody else is. So there's wonderful opportunities for Rotarians in Bangladesh, Rotarians in Mexico, Rotarians in Canada to work together on these big global kinds of issues. And I relate them. Nuclear abolition, I believe, is one, nuclear weapon abolition. Climate change is number two, because it's a slower death. And a new world order with an international rule of law filling the gaps, with an understanding and appreciation and acceptance of the rights of others, we say human rights, is going to have to transcend sovereign state boundaries, like Rotarians do. Rotarians don't have boundaries that are confined to particular states or particular provinces, we have boundaries that are different from our sovereign states. And we can work together, and we can see ourselves as a global human family. We don't worry about politics. We don't worry about narrowness of thinking in terms of religion or gender or any sexual orientation or race or color or tribes or clans. So Rotary has a huge opportunity to be one person at a time, one Rotarian at a time, one Rotaractor, one interactor, being a piece of making this world the kind of place that we can only vision. And we have a vision where everyone can experience peace within and beyond ourselves. And that's how we think what we're doing with our community. And every community in the world where there's Rotary can do that. And that's what we're working for. And the inclusion that was spoken of, the need to have an appreciation, an understanding, and acceptance that we are all equal. And we all have the same basic cravings and needs. We all have suffered trauma, more or less. And we have to be more empathic and understand each other. And we can do that starting with not only our own relationships in family, but in our Rotary clubs, in our Rotary districts, in our Rotary zones, and in our Rotary world. And tonight is an example of us doing a little piece of that. And thanks to Kauser, Halal, and CRRIC for making this possible and for you joining in this discussion.
Thank you, David, for your inspiring words. And we appreciate. And David is a prime mover of this institute and as well as the club. So we are at the fag end of this session. And now I welcome Dr. Hilal Mohiuddin to kindly put forward his remarks, and I will follow up with concluding session of tonight. Dr. Hilal Mohiuddin, floor is yours, sir.
Okay, do you hear me? Okay, how may I thank distinguished panelists, especially because of the time of this event. It's quite late night for Bob Hopkins. I think it's a kind of torture to him. Sorry, Bob. And the same to David. I must express my heartfelt gratitude to David for his constant support to CRRIC and us. And now it is making a special sort of momentum, not only in Winnipeg or Manitoba, I think globally, Peace 365. And I believe David is the mastermind behind this. Along with some time, we just wanted to extend our helps and supports, extend our hands to some extent. But David is the nucleus in this movement. And we are trying our best to connect with Rotary as much as we can, given our capacities and objectives. We are always approaching David first before going to Rotary or any other organization that, okay, David, look, we have this plan, that plan, we need to do that. And everything is related with some sort of volunteering. I volunteered to some extent as a non-Rotarian, and still I feel myself a part of that family. I believe David feels us the same way. we are feeling it. So it's a novel initiative, and tonight it's not easy for everyone. And for Mazhar also, Dr. Mazhar mentioned this morning that it's quite difficult for Bangladeshis to join this early morning because we are not really habituated to join in webinars or other sort of discussions. Thanks, Dr. Mazhar, for your time and your constant assistance to CRRIC's different webinars and other activities over the last couple of months, I believe. Last 2-3 months, you are constantly with us. So we are very grateful to you. I was listening to all of your discussion. I took special note of Bob's deliberation that, okay, it's not for changing the world, but getting self-respect and feeling our own worth. Like, okay, we are belonging to something very unique. So our own self-worth is more important in volunteering. With that note, I must say something from the real world. In the real world these days, especially these days, volunteering is a dying concept. I don't know whether you were listening that hearing that buzz over the last 2-3 years. I believe different journal articles and columns are pointing out that problem, that okay, people are not that interested these days in volunteering for some strange reasons, especially the young folks. They're the pulse to the volunteerism, and for some strange reasons they are not coming up these days, or they are not tending to take part in big changes. Most of the time they are thinking that it is probably useless and it will not make a huge difference in the complicated world we are presently living in. As David mentioned about the threat of nuclear and climate change and big other things. I must thank Naila Bari for her initiatives in Bangladesh, especially about plastic. That okay, some small efforts, these are small initiatives and efforts make big changes. As you know that okay, we can't stop somewhere, that okay, nothing will change and probably will not be able to make big differences. But still we have to take into consideration that these problems are lurking behind all these initiatives, and these problems are knocking our doors all the time. Most NGOs and civil society organizations are suffering from volunteer crisis, and we can't really make big efforts. Probably in Winnipeg, the situation is a little bit different. We are having more volunteers than many other places, but it is by understanding from other voluntary organizations as well that volunteering is at risk at this moment. People don't have that motivation like before, like 10 years back or 15 years back. There was a big momentum, and I think a kind of movement 10 or 15 years ago. That movement is absent at this moment. So we need to make some contribution in that sector as well. I think Rotary have the capacity to support some initiatives, just especially labeling them as volunteering development. Rotary itself is a voluntary organization, that's fine, but we need to mobilize more volunteers for different causes and reasons. Sometime it is going to be needed for themselves, volunteers themselves, not for making big changes in some contexts. Like adolescent crisis is a big crisis these days. We are working on that. Adolescent mental health is a big problem, and they need peer support, peer volunteering. It is our understanding these days that okay, adolescents are feeling themselves aloof from the mainstream society for different reasons. There are complex socio-political reasons and economic reasons as well, and technology is a big factor. They are becoming more attached to technology than the real world of socializing themselves with the realities, sometimes with the harsh realities of the world. So taking these realities into consideration, I think Rotary International may consider launching a new program, completely new program, like volunteering development. This is a crying need at this moment. And if Winnipeg David is here, so again, like before, like all the time, that we approach David first. So David, you might consider bringing this proposal to the Rotary next meeting, that we need to have some special sort of program that will really create some kind of peace, because these days I feel they're doing something for adolescents to also bring peace in our community and family and society, because some of them are really looking for our helps. They deserve that. So volunteering development programs, this is it. I think pretty much that's my idea to share with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hilal. That was very encouraging. As I promised, I'll conclude the session right now. But before I actually go into my prepared, kind of segments to conclude the session formally, I would like to go back to the first person with who I started today's session, Professor Dr. Mazhar. And without his, I would say, continuous support, today's session would have not been possible. And this is the truth. So I would like to request Professor Dr. Mazhar to say a couple of words about his passion or latest work jointly he's running with Dr. Bob Hopkins, the course which I'm very much interested in, maybe in the future to host it here in Canada. So Dr. Mazhar, if you kindly speak a few words before we conclude formally.
Thank you, Dr. Kausar. I was actually trying to make a point after hearing Dr. Hilal Muhyiddin's remarks on that it is a decline of volunteerism in the youth folks globally, and an increase of disinterest about something called volunteerism, because the world needs something which is called money and profit. It always reminds me about a world famous movie called Jerry Maguire, where he has been offered to a position of a football coach, and he has been, if you can remember that movie, that he has been offering so many things that you'll get fame and everything and all this kind of thing, that you will get blah 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 4 or 5 kind of benefits and all that, and at the last he was telling that, well, I understand everything, but where is the money? So you see, the question of where is the money has become such an important question of the day nowadays, that even in a countries like that in Bangladesh, it was very easy to interview someone and for hours after hours, like you can that's why our research in this country was like not very difficult, I mean, taking time from the interviewee. But nowadays, they are also asking money, that what is the cost of my time, I mean, that I have offered you for last 2 hours. So these things has been, I mean, developing around the globe. So I have a little small kind of a proposal here, that for the food for thoughts. Bob and others also can think about it, that and of course David, that can we have a kind of a pedagogical innovation where we can incorporate it, particularly to the youth folks, I mean, in like in the schools, in the primary, secondary, and elementary, even in the tertiary level of education, where volunteerism or philanthropy or this kind of, we can think about the name, I mean, we can find a catchy name, but the philosophy is that will nurture volunteerism by applying kind of applied project where they will get some credits out of that. I mean, we know there are some universities that are offering some credit courses to some community work and all those kind of work, but it is not there all over the world. We need to synergize our effort on that. I mean, and we can really think about some kind of a methodological innovation and pedagogical kind of a breakthrough now, because the world has changed a lot. I mean, so if we cannot synergize our effort in a parallel way, that there is a greed and profit, and if we cannot make our volunteerism and commitment in a pace that will outsmart the thing, and the greed will prevail. So for that point of view, we really need to work very innovative way, so that we can find out some methodological and pedagogical innovation where we can incorporate it in the elementary, secondary, and also in the tertiary level of education. So that's my take on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mazhar. And Bob, did you want to say something?
Of course. I always want to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Several of you mentioned youth, the youth, and I wanted to mention our Youth and Philanthropy virtual conference. In June, we had the first virtual Youth and Philanthropy conference. We had 60 young people from the ages of 7 to 22 online here, and we put them in groups, and we also had presentations, and some of them even presented what they did. If our youth are not involved in something, it's our fault. Our children do what we tell them to do. We are not introducing this topic in schools because in the United States, they say we have to do science and we have to do math. None of this fun stuff, nothing to do with the heart, nothing to do with feeling good about yourself. That's our attitude. And it's the adults' problem that we have because we're not involving our youth. And I think that what Maharul and I are doing, which is having this course in Bangladesh with college students, and what Naila's doing and getting women who aren't normally involved in something, we Rotarians, we people have to get our youth involved. We have to put more emphasis into Rotaract in all of the countries, in all of the cities, because Rotaract is the answer. Truly it is. And these are students of mine that I had in college when I was in Leon, and I watched them create Rotaract. Part of it was because of information that they received out of my classes.
So Bob, I was just asking that if we can have some theoretical kind of pedagogical innovation where we can take it to the textbook. I mean, so that there is not only just an application of it, but also a theoretical kind of a addition to the globe. I mean, that's something that also I think is also important.
Thank you so very much. Dear audience and esteemed panelists, here is the message from our club president, Brent Jorowski, and he tuned in a little bit and he listened to our discussion, and I have flashed his message so far for your information. So we are at the end, and before I kind of leave you today, I just would like to share some of the, I would say, time-tested comments from my favorite philosopher and historian, Professor Yuval Noah Hariri from Israel. And he, in a piece which was published, I think on March 19, 2018, in New York Times, I believe, yes, and he spoke about what's next for humanity: automation, new morality, and global useless class. That was the title of his piece. And I just would like to quote two small paragraphs from his very, as I said, very time-tested comments. And this is kind of is also connected with Professor Dr. Mazhar's comment that this is a very interesting time of the history. So here is it. And Professor Noah Hariri is saying, time is accelerating, quote unquote. And he's also continuing to say that it's the first time in history when we'll have no idea how human society will be like in a couple of decades. And he also continues, we are in an unprecedented situation in history, in the sense that nobody knows what the basics about how the world will look like in 20 or 30 years. Not just the basics of geopolitics, but what the job market would look like, what kind of skills people will need, what family structures will look like, what gender relations will look like. This means that for the first time in history, we have no idea what to teach in schools. And just a last part in the same piece in New York Times, he goes on to say that the moment we are in now is a moment of extreme disillusionment and bewilderment because we have no idea where things will go from here. It's very important to be aware of the downside, of the dangerous scenarios of new technologies. The corporations, the engineers, the people in labs naturally focus on the enormous benefits that these technologies might bring us. And it falls to historians, to philosophers, social scientists who think about all of the ways that things could go wrong. So, without further ado, let me conclude. Conflict and Resilience Research Institute wishes to thank all of you for your kind participation and the insights that you shared today with our broader audience. I hope this will create a ripple effect, and through your talk, people will be more inspired to work for humanity and forget about petty differences. Wherever you are, stay fine, stay well. We will meet each other again somewhere down the road. And please do not forget to tune in with all the Peace Days events, and it is in the website www.peacedays.ca. Once again, it is in www.peacedays.ca. And you will find numerous events are being hosted there. And CRRIC also has more 3 events upcoming on September 18th, 19th, and 21st. Thank you so much once again. Stay fine. Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.